Yo, yo, yo.
What
What's
up?
up, King?
What up? What up? What up?
Nothing, man. How's the weather up there?
It's cooling down, 70s.
Uh, okay.
Yeah,
Still,
70s. Not
still,
bad. It's just LA. It's LA weather right now.
okay. Yeah, it's still at the 90, high 90s here.
You guys in Texas, you guys, you're gonna feel that for a while.
Yeah, the allergies here are insane. To have the worst allergies, and I wake up in the morning. I'm like, I have these huge bags under my eyes. I've been going to need to see an allergist forever to get the allergy shots because
Is it the
I,
pollen? Is it the pollen that's doing that?
I'm allergic to everything. When I
To
had my
everything,
allergy test done, when I had my surgery done, because I
right?
like couldn't breathe out of my nose, and so I went to ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat. They did a CT, and then she called me. She's like, "Hey, I haven't seen a case this bad in like 12 years. You need to have surgery like ASAP. How do you even breathe?" I said, "I don't. I can't breathe out of my nose."
Wow.
And so she showed me like the before and after, and it was like it shows your like passageways or whatever, and it
Right.
was completely like all the junk in there, and then I had polyps all throughout here too. And so they fixed my deviated septum, and then they got in there and they dug out all the polyps and infected tissue in there. And then
Nuts.
for
That's
about
crazy.
5 weeks, my face was about this big. I've already got a full face, anyways. If I'm not dieting, and so I look like a chipmunk. But then I I had to have emergency surgery because you're not supposed to lift anything over 5 pounds for 4 weeks. And then
Okay.
this was like the fifth week, and I was bathing my daughter. She was like maybe like a year and a half at that time. And I just got home. I remember I was like hot and I was like rushing around everywhere. My nose started bleeding. It wasn't a normal nosebleed because I've always got nosebleeds since I was a little kid. I've had my nose like cauterized like literally 8 times in my life where they
Wow.
go in and they just burn. My mom used to have nosebleeds all the time too. And then it was like two faucets turned on and my nose was like just pouring and pouring blood. And I called the girl, my mother of my daughter at the time. I was like, "Hey, I need to go to the ER," because we were supposed to go on a trip like 3 days later. She was looking at like dresses to get somewhere. I was like,
Right.
"I need to go to the ER now." She's like, "I'll be home in a little bit." I was like, "No, you don't understand. It's like it's pouring out. I can't. It's bad." So I went to the ER, and this was like they were there for a while. They kept trying to, and they had like towels like this, and there was like you dipped a towel in the pool. It was that much blood. I
Wow.
actually had to get a transfusion because I lost so much blood. And then so they called my ear, nose, and throat doctor, and she had to come up there and do a emergency surgery. And then, when they do surgery, you're supposed to fast, right? Because you can
Right.
aspirate. So they had to suction out my stomach to get all the uh,
Oh God.
food and everything out. And oh man, the results from that were awful. But anyways, she went in there and just like just had to carterize even more, like burn the shit out of everything. And then for about like 4 or 5 weeks, my stomach was so descended because when they did whatever they had to do to get all the food out, I think they blow and suction everything out and stuff through a tube, and it messed my stomach up so bad. But that
Wow.
was a really rough surgery. And then you have like two tampons in your nose after the surgery. They just jam all the way up there. But got that done, and then she's like, you're allergic to everything. You're allergic to dogs. You're allergic. I'm not allergic to cats, but like everything in Texas, like this tree, this shrub, this, and you need to follow up. And I never got the allergy shots, and now I'm paying for it, and I gotta
It's
see
crazy.
allergy. But
Crazy. Crazy.
um,
Crazy. Crazy.
so we're talking about today about coaching, and we're both coaches, and we've been doing it for a long time. You want to tell how you got into it first, and I'll kind of tell how I got into it and fell in love with it and all that.
Uh, how did I
I
get
go
into
first. You go first. Whatever.
No, how did I get into coaching? Is just helping out friends. That's how it all started. Just helping out friends here and there, and then family members, and then next thing you know, people from the gym. And then once I retired, and I realized that fat check coming from Muscle Tech is not coming anymore. So then I just started to do my thing, and it was different back when I first started. Probably the same thing for you. I mean, now there was no social media. There was none of that stuff. People saw you, they knew who you were, and they come to you and they hire you. Now that's why the whole industry and everything has been dumbed down, because everybody thinks that they're a coach. They don't understand. And I always give the same advice to people. I'm like, hey, listen, if you don't want to work with me, go find another professional. Make sure they're a professional and they know what they're doing, because they've been through the hell and they know what's up. And that's it. That's basically how I got into it.
Yeah, I was the same way. You know, I started competing at a young age, at 18, and yeah, we didn't have, people have got to understand today, we didn't have anything. There was no ChatGPT, there was no internet, there's no YouTube. You could look up stuff. We had to read medical journals, drug books, pharmacy stuff, like dietitian books. I went to school to be a dietitian, all that kind of stuff to learn and soak up enough information up, you know, and we had to learn. Today, it's like you're just given a formula right away. These guys starting out, you have a formula, here you go. You got, I mean, it might not be like the perfect fit, but it's like you basically kind of know what to do in a nutshell. You need a coach still, though. But we didn't know anything. We didn't know what this does, what this does. There was just trial and error. I competed at 18. I won my first show. It was actually Lee's show, the Lee Priest Classic, when he was living in Austin back in, I think, 01, 02. I was in high school. And then all my friends were working out, and I got into it because I was a skinny soccer player. And then once I had some knee issues in soccer, I had to rehab them. I started working out, and I put on muscle easily. And then I remember I saw pictures of you when you were young. You were naturally muscular when you were a kid, though, right?
I had a six pack and I had shoulders. I had a six pack and I had shoulders. And then once I started my mom ordered this ab thingy, this coil spring thing that, you know, you one of these things that they sell on the TV. She ordered it, and I just started rowing that sucker, you know, and I did reverse rows and front rows and standing upright rows. I did all these rows, and that's where the back started to come in.
Yeah.
And then when I went to high school, everyone was like, hey, they used to call me Cobra in the gym because I had lats. You know, they're like, hey, shows the Cobra. So I just puff up like this, and then it just went from there. But yeah, that's usually how it happens, just off the cuff.
I remember we had I was an athletics class. We had to see how much we could bench press. I think it was a bar king, like the bar or a 5 plate on each side. How many times? I couldn't do it once. And I was so competitive in soccer. All I did was run. And I did long distance running too. When I wasn't playing soccer, I was a very good long distance runner and sprinter, but I competed in long distance. But I was mad at myself because I was so competitive. I was like, this is, because I thought the gym was stupid. I was like, it's so stupid. You go to the gym, you pick up stuff, and you like put them down. It's kind of like that commercial. It's like I pick stuff up and put them down.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, this is stupid. And all my friends were working out and all this. And I remember one day one of my friends called my house, and my mom's like, oh, he's at the gym. They're like, he's at the gym. He's always made fun of us for going to the gym. And then within like, I think 3 months, I surpassed all my friends. I was like way bigger than all my friends that were going to the gym like years prior. And then I was the first one to compete and do everything. And so all my friends were like attached to me. And then I started kind of helping people out just for fun and all that. And then after about 3 years, 2-3 years, they're like, dude, you're really good at this. Like, we're winning our shows, and why don't you build a business? And like you said, back then, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there was like literally 3 or 4 people I knew of you could go to that would help you as a coach in bodybuilding. One was a guy named Prince Harrison. That is one of my good friends now. Yeah. And has a Heart of Texas and Lone Star back in the day, and still does have the Heart of Texas. And it was him, and then a guy named Herman I got sent to. And then, do you remember Ronnie Swire?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people don't remember him. My dad, he used to eat at my dad's restaurant growing up, and my dad sent me to him at first when I wanted to get into bodybuilding at 16. And I went to him, and he's like, hey, he goes, like, since I'm friends with your dad, he goes, I'll write you a little diet, but I can't tell you about the other supplements and stuff you need to take.
Right.
You know? So you goes, come back to me when you're 18, and you know, we can do something or whatever. And Ronnie was known for his posing. He was an amazing poser. Great poser.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And
reminded me a lot of Bob Ciccarello. They had the same look.
Yeah. Ronnie was a little shorter, but he was amazing. He was on all the covers back then and everything. A lot of people, he never went pro either. So a lot of people don't know who he was, but he was an amazing bodybuilder. And he was a really, really good like mentor for a while. I'd go up. He had a physical therapy business. I would go up there all the time and just shoot the shit with him. He was a really, really nice guy. He was like, I have this guy I could send you to, and he could kind of get you started in bodybuilding and all that. It was this guy named Herman. I went out to him, and then one of my best friends that I grew up with in my neighborhood, Steven, he still competes to this day, Masters pro, and I still help him out. And we grew up in the same neighborhood since we were little. He was like 4 years older than me. He was out at Herman's gym one day, and then a guy named Chris Joali too, I've talked about before. He was a cover model and all that too, that passed away. One of my good friends that passed away. And all three of us, we were like a group. And then, we, in our area, we had Ronnie Coleman, Branch Warren, and Johnny Jackson. That was like the bodybuilders in our area we looked up to. And then there was a ton of great, national guys, and like we had Gold's Gym and we had Arlington Metroflex, were the two huge bodybuilding gyms there. Right. So I used to just bug the shit out of people for information until I annoyed them enough to where they would invite me over. When I was when I was like 16 and 17, I was hanging out with like 35-year-old, 40-year-old guys, all the bodybuilders, just because I wanted to know on their information. And then I had a fake ID, so I would go all the bars and strip clubs with them and all that at like 16 years old. And they're like, you're crazy, kid. And I'm like, looking back at that, I'm like, that's so weird. I would never hang out with a 16-year-old if I was 30, if I was 35 years old. But they were all good guys, and I made some really good friendships with me. Unfortunately, most of them were passed away. Wow. From bodybuilding stuff and rec. They got into the rec stuff too. Right. And then I started coaching people. They were winning, and then I started making a business out of it. And then I was doing it while I was competing, and it was hard while you were getting ready for shows. But I would have shows I'd be competing against, and I would have competitors in there too. And then business was great. Everything was really good. No one would ever think of like being a coach unless they knew what they were doing. Even a personal trainer. You remember how popular personal training was. You weren't a personal trainer unless you really knew your stuff in the gym. And then personal trainers just became like a waiter at a restaurant. You could go in any gym and be hired as a personal trainer. Hey, do this online.
That was it for me. To be honest with you, that was when I was like, I remember coming to New York and training at New York Sports Club. And I would see, obese people walking around that said trainer on the back. And I would just, and I would blame it on the corporate, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. It's all, we have to DEI or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I would never go to, a coding company and say, hey, listen, hire me because I'm a coach. No, it just doesn't work like that. Or I would never go try to be a runway model, because I'm not 6'1". It's just, you gotta, there's some things that are just common sense, and people are not using their common sense. That's when I knew that. And guess what? What happened to New York Sports Club? Out of business. Bankrupt. Done. Finished. Yeah. Adios. And I had many conversations with the management. I'm like, you guys are doing this wrong. Don't listen to me, go visit this gym. And I said, when I came back from the Middle East, I'm like, watch. This was like, 15 years ago. And I was like, watch, they're going to take over. Oh, what do you mean? That's the Middle East, man. What are you talking? I'm like, watch. They're going to take over. And what happened? They took over. Yeah. The anabolic chicken, oxygen gym.
Yeah, I mean,
Kuwait, Oman, Dubai, Venus's gym. They took over. Took over.
I mean, you could make, I remember I started people at age 16. You had that Gold's Gym. We had a Powerhouse Gold's, and then they eventually Gold's went over to bought Powerhouse. But my friend was the manager of Gold's. He was named Mickey. He was a big black guy. He was a national guy. He was really good. And he hired me at 16. He's like, just don't tell people you're 16. And I was training people. They were full-time at age 16. So I started training full-time at 16 years old. And then, you get so burnt out. Did you do much in-gym training, King? Did you ever do the in-gym personal training?
I did for a little bit. I was going through a hard time in my life. It was a difficult time in my life. It was when I first started to have problems in my marriage and stuff like that. And I did for about a year, but I couldn't stand it. It just wasn't for me. I couldn't handle it. It just wasn't for me. And what was happening is and I was, separated and this and that. What was happening with personal training, this is one thing that I noticed right off the bat. It's very easy to bang all your clients. That's what I noticed quickly.
Yeah.
Whether they're married, they're young, they're old, they're athletic, once you start to train them and you start to get close to them, it's just yeah. And then I asked around at other trainers, they're like, oh yeah, that's something that comes as a part of personal training. And I just was like, it's just not for me.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I got stories for days on those, but yeah, I mean, that was one of I think at first when I started doing it, of course, when you're 18 or 19, you don't care. It's like, whatever. Yeah. You could, many girls like, oh my gosh, you're a personal trainer. Let me come train with you. And then the next thing, it's kind of weird because it was like such an easy way to get girls, and everybody, oh my gosh, you're a trainer. I need to come train with you. And then they're the ones pursuing it. Whether you like you said, the married ones were probably the worst. They're complaining about their marriage to you, this and that. And I never liked that. I one thing I never could stand was people that like hooked up with other married people, and like that's one thing I would never do. I'm like, that's fucked up. You cheat on your husband. Like that's not okay. Like, and I'm not going to be a part of that. But I love personal training until I got burnt out, and then everybody started training people too, and that's kind of how coaching got too. Coaching I think was really, really good. I think until about as soon as Instagram came out, you could, go on there, because I was late in the game too, like you on Instagram. I'm like, I'm not, we had like MySpace, which I love MySpace. I got tons of clients from MySpace and opportunities and for shoots and other kind of infomercial stuff and everything from there. And when Instagram came around, I'm just like, this is stupid. This is so narcissistic. You're like taking a picture of yourself in the mirror and like posting it. I'm like, this is not going to last. And like, whether like the magazines are still around, like, so we're doing the magazines. That's legit. So no, I was wrong. And I had no clue. And a lot of people, I don't think had any clue. And the people transitioning over during that time, if you didn't transition over, people didn't know who you were. And people don't get it. People give two shits if you were in a magazine these days. They're like, that's like an old thing. Like, they're not impressed. It's like, okay, that's like reading the black and white newspaper or something to them. But they don't understand how it was. Like, they would show up at the gym. They had a whole crew and shoot you and pay you and feed you and fly you out. It was really awesome thing. And then you're getting paid to do this, and then you're supposed to take pictures and post them without getting paid. That was the problem I had, because I'm like, okay, you used to get paid for this. Or even a guy named Joe LaBelle, he would come shoot us in the gym. He had mostmuscular.com, and he would pay us starting at age 18, at least a couple $200-300, and he had a YouTube channel at the time. And he shot everybody, and he was a really good guy, and he put a lot of people on the map to get a big following at that time, and through his website. And that's what gave like myself and Chris Raleigh and Steven a good following at that time before the social media stuff. And then once Instagram came out, man, I just saw it slowly. I'm like, this person's coaching people now. This person's, man. And I'm like, it just got worse and worse and worse over the years. And when I think all the people started coming into the industry, once they made all another, the different classes, people didn't know who to go to. They would go on Instagram. Oh, this person's in shape. It says they're a coach. I'm going to hire them. Or what girls do, I don't know if this happens to you a lot, King. Girls will be like, oh, I like the way this girl looks, so I'm going to hire her because I want to look like her. And they go to the girl, and the girl knows nothing. Let's be real. Who are the best coaches out there? Men. If you want if you want to get a girl in shape, get a male coach. There's some good female coaches out there, but males know, it's the ones you want to go to.
Yeah, it's definitely like that, and I've seen that 100 times. And what's funny to me is this: I see, a lot of these coaches, they get hot and they get cold, and they get hot and they get cold, and they take on a ton of clients and make a ton of money, and then suddenly people realize, nah, this is just another scam. It's not really working. But that, I only take on a certain amount of people because that's just my personality. And I'll make an announcement like I did last week. I said, I got 4 spots open for the fall. Okay. And then I had a bunch of people come in. the funny thing is that I always do say the same thing. I'm like, okay, I do a pre-interview. I'm like, here's my email. Send me your stats. Send me some pictures. Send me your goals. Let me know what you are expecting. Then we go from there. There are some times that I after 35 years of doing this, even I get stunned, and I have to just like look around my room saying, did this just really happen? I mean, I had a guy, God bless him. He's a little, he's depressed and whatever. He's a family guy. I want you to imagine Al Bundy, okay, with gray hairs and, the whole night. And after like a couple of weeks, he sent me a text saying, I truly believe you can help me become an IFBB pro. Let's do. I mean, I read things like that, and I'm like, what are these people's? Either they have incredible self-confidence, or they're the most disillusioned people on the planet. And that's why I do the pre-search and pre-little test to make sure that people are on the same page and as we go. Now, as far as these internet coaches and stuff goes, listen, I've helped so many people turn professional because they had the genetics and drive. I've had so many people get in the best shapes of their life. I would say 50%. The other 50%, they either want to say, hey, King Kamali is my coach. You get off on that. Or they're rich women from the Hamptons that don't do shit. They don't do anything you tell them to do. They just want to walk around and FaceTime you in front of their friends to let them, I've had that too before. But as far as getting the best and getting things done, it is sad when I see what's happening out there right now. And it's going to, and a lot of people getting really messed up internally, physically, and mentally.
It goes both ways too, because you got coaches and you got clients too. You got clients that come to you, they've already had 5 coaches, and they're like, I'm like, what didn't work? Because a lot of them, I'm like, who are the coaches? And they're good coaches, and I'm like, what happened with those people? And I'm like, I at one point back in like 2012, I took on way too many clients. I could not handle it, and I was literally I was miserable. And I was so tired of looking at my phone, 50 texts, 60 texts. I was like, I was going crazy. I'm like, it's not worth making that much extra money, which who doesn't like money, but it's not worth it to me if it's affecting my health and life and well-being if I'm coaching that many people. So I would do it too. I would like get on the phone like, hey, why are you wanting to compete? What are your goals? What do you want to get out of this? And give you some realistic expectations. And the same thing, I want to be a pro and by next year. I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you one thing. You don't have the structure to be a pro, whether it's bikini or bodybuilding or whatever. We can get you maybe this far. And then some people you just don't know. They shock you. You're like, wow, they've made they're a hyper responder just to whether it's training gear or whatever. And they really surprise you. But I mean, I had people I was training too. I was training Mark Cuban's training partner. I was working at an all-gay gym at the time, like Sagi Khalif. I don't know if you know him. He was a big fitness model back in the day. He was working there too with me. And these guys would just hire you just to stand by them while they were working out. They didn't even want to be trained. They'd pay you crazy money. I remember he used to give me like stacks of cards to all these, restaurants, Nick and Sam steakhouses. And I got so many presents and perks. They would give you bonuses for Christmas. I mean, insane stuff. They would buy you gifts. All my clients, that doesn't happen anymore at all for training stuff. And I don't do much in-gym training anymore unless they're a prep client. And I've kind of got away from more of the competitive clients, and I still do it, but let's be real, King. To compete in bodybuilding, it's extremely expensive. Take out the drugs.
Yeah.
And just the entry fees, like $200, some of them now. And most people do several classes. They want to do the novice, the open. And you got to remind people, you couldn't even compete in open until you won novice. Then you had to win open, and then you're nationally qualified. And then it was a big deal to even be a national competitor because that was hard to get to. Now you can compete in novice, true novice, open, master, everything. And you can win 5 first place trophies. And that's really cool because I have a lot of clients that do that. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's cool. You got 5 first place trophies. I mean, and you can hang them up and cross it off your bucket list or keep competing or do whatever. But, you got to be realistic with people. And I think a lot of clients too, you know, that hire you, you gotta screen them, because some people's intentions are a little out there. They want to be your friend. Like I had this one guy when I was training at a gym in 2015. He's like, man, you know, I hired Armon and I'm trying to, like, you know, be friends with them and hang out and all this kind of stuff. And he's just kind of like, you know, really kind of straightforward. And I'm like, dude, you hired him as a coach. Like you're not hiring him to be your friend. And that's just the way it is. He'll get you in shape. He'll get you on stage. And then listen, I've made a lot of friends over the years of people I've coached. I'm sure you have too, that you still talk to probably to this day.
Absolutely.
And it just happens. But a lot of people, when they try to force that friendship, I mean, I had stalkers before, women and men. I mean, sending texts nonstop, wanting to, you know, I even made a horrible decision one year. I was moving out to Dallas from Arlington, and I was looking at apartments, and I had a hard time getting approved because some trouble I got in when I was younger. So one of my clients was like, hey, why don't you just, you know, I'll get a big 2-bedroom apartment. Just, you can train me for half the rent or whatever, or pay me however you want to do it. I was like, okay. And I didn't know the guy was gay. I could care less. But when you start doing weird shit, like doing my laundry without asking me to, and I'm coming home and all my underwear is folded on my bed perfectly and all that, I'm like, dude, stop going in my room and doing my laundry. Or then I would have a girl over and he would send me a text. He's like, hey man, I'm just really uncomfortable with a girl being in your room. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you're uncomfortable with. It's like, we're roommates. I'm going to have girls over. I'm dating. It's part of it. And then he wanted to talk one night. And he's like, hey, I have something to talk to you about. And he's like, hey, I've been going to counseling, and because for my obsession with you. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. So I called two of my buddies, Isaac, and I think my buddy Isaac and Mike. I was like, bro, I need to move out. And I'm like, I'm looking for another apartment. I got an apartment in Plano at the time. And I didn't even tell this guy I was moving out, because I was actually scared of the guy. This guy just told me he's going to counseling for an obsession with me. So I moved out that day, and I slid the key like under the door and everything, just halfway under the door, so he couldn't try to say I had the key still. So he came home and I moved everything out. And eventually, like years down the road, because I blocked him from everything, because he was just like, you know, during the workout a couple times towards the end, that's why I dropped him too. Plus the roommate situation, we'd be working out. He'd be like, man, dude, I would just love to blow you. I'm like, what? I'm like, we're doing tricep press downs, and you just fucking told me that? I'm like, dude, what? No. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. I'm like, dude, if you ever do that again, I'm dropping you. And then he did it again, like 4 weeks later, like said something similar, like, man, I'd love to, you know, blow you or go down on you or something like that. And I was like, that's it. And then I was still living with him at the time. And then he told me the obsession thing afterwards. And I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah,
and but I don't know, that's what you got to watch out for. I've had kids, you know, younger guys call me at 3 or 4 in the middle of the night. Hey, come party with us, man. Like on a Xanax and GHB and drink. And I'm like, dude, I'm married and I'm at home. Why are you calling me at 3 in the morning? And then, you know, the next day they would send you all this crazy text. I would get this one girl send me 800 texts in one day from all ghost numbers. You know, some of the messages were just awful things, like, go, you know, take your life and go do this and go do that, because I was training her. It was actually a Middle Eastern girl. She was really pretty, but she's out of her mind. But I eventually had to call the police, because I mean, these messages kept coming, and I got 800 in one day. And I asked her, I was like, is this you doing it? And because I remember she went to way or somewhere in the summer, and she's like, hey, I can bring a bunch of stuff back for you over there. It's dirt cheap. I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I think it was on some app we're texting when she's out of the country. And then she thought we were together or something. And I'm like, we're not together. Like, and she's like, you're talking to other girls. I know you are. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, there's probably one over there right now. I'm like, we're not together. What made you ever think we were together? Like, we're friends, you know, I trained you. And then she sends me a video, King. And then there's a bonfire, and she's cussing at me in Arabic, and she's throwing all the gear in the bonfire. And I'm like, okay, like you just wasted your money.
That's classic. That definitely goes in the classic file right there, man. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
But did you have any really crazy ones? Like I got another story that's really crazy, but did you have any really stalker craziest ones like that, or did you kind of?
I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, I attract crazies though. Like my friends will always say, like I don't do anything like extra flirty. If people will even say anything, Armon's a little standoffish, a little too serious because I had to be because I would always attract all the craziness, and so
yeah,
I don't know if that happened to you.
Your crazy stories are different from my crazy. My crazy stories. My crazy stories were more like Sound Factory stuff and the Ministry of Sound, and a lot of club nights, crazy things that we did like that. But as far as the other stuff goes, no, man, I was married, bro. I was married, and I was focused on my career and Muscle Tech and Weeder and all that stuff. So it was a little bit different for me. But listen, I can go toe to toe with you when it comes to me and Cormier stories, Vegas stories and stuff. Yeah, we had a blast. But as far as the clients and stuff like that go, I mean, I can. There was this one, and she was a stripper, but she wasn't a bad. She was actually a good client. She would just come drunk. And, she would bring her girlfriend with her once in a while. It was fun, and but it wasn't anything like, let me put it to you this way. If I was single, I would have had a lot more fun.
Oh, yeah. What age did you get married?
2003.
How old were you?
31, 32, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, my early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this one girl that pretty tops, like, and I coached her for way too long, and sometimes you get a little too personal with your clients once you become friends, and I don't do this at all anymore. This girl first contacted me initially on Facebook, I believe it was Facebook, and she lived in Chicago. She was a figure competitor. She already competed in figure. She done well. And she's like, hey, I'm looking for a new coach trainer. Can I come to Dallas for like a week and train with you? And I'm like, sure. She's like, I have a lot of money. I could pay you this amount of money. And it was like a crazy amount of money. She told me, I was like, there's no way this girl's going to see me this much money. She's like, I'm dead serious. She's like, I can send it to you before I even come. I was like, okay. And she sent it. It was like $5,000 or something like that. I was like, wow, okay, cool. And, she's a pretty girl. She was actually younger than me, like 3 or 4 years. At that time, I didn't know how she made her money or anything. I didn't know anything about her. And so she got a hotel at one of the nicest hotels in Dallas, like a suite. And she's like, well, since I'm here, and I was single at the time, or I was probably dating a girl, it just wasn't serious. She's like, can you take me out in Dallas and show me like around and all that? I'm like, yeah, sure. We can do that. And I was training her. I think I trained her 2 days. But when she came in town, she brought her back. She goes, I got you some gifts. And I was like, oh, okay. Bro, she got it was like 10 t-shirts and necklaces and hats and stuff I would never even wear too. Like all these like hats with beads all over and all these necklaces. I was like, I don't wear like jewelry really. I wear like maybe a watch, and I had earrings at the time, but I don't wear all that stuff. I was like, thank you. That's really nice. I mean, she probably spent another couple grand in clothes and hats. And I was like, it's really nice of you. Thank you. And then we went out that night to, I forgot what club it was, but it was a big club in Dallas. Knew the front door guy, so we got right in. And of course, that time, and I'd party with GHB all the time. And I was doing my G, and she's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "GHB is, you know about it?" She goes, "Oh yeah, I've done GHB before." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you can have you can have some if you want." She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, only take." I guess it was like 5-hour energy bottle. I was like, just take like a cap of it, like a little baby cap. And she goes to the bathroom, come back, and I'm like, how much did you take? Like half the bottle's gone. She goes, oh, well, I spilled some. I'm like, did you? Because you don't look well already in the face.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, did you? And she's like, yeah. And then it was probably like 15, 20 minutes. She was sweating like, just ghost white. And she was she's a figure girl, cap shoulders, jack girl. She wasn't short either. She was like 5'7", 5'8", and I'm 5'10". And so she starts going like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's starting to G out. So I'm like walking around the club and everybody's like just looking at us like that. I'm like, shit, everybody knows me there too. They're like, who's this? Who's this girl with them? This, you know. And I take her outside and I sit her down, and then she lays down and starts having like a seizure. I'm like,
I've seen
oh
that
my
too. I've
gosh.
seen that. Yeah.
Like the G flop, all the flopping, all that. The G flop.
I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah. So I laid her on her side, and then it got so bad, dude. I called 911. I threw the bottle in the bushes. They came, and they came and went to the hospital, and the cops were there. You know how they come, the ambulance, and ask her questions, and they found a syringe in her like purse and was asking her questions and all this and that. And I was in there with her, and they wanted to talk to me. They're like, you know, anything about this? And then I don't know if it was at that time I found out she was addicted to Oxy's IV. She was shooting them up, and this girl was young. She was like 23.
That's nuts.
Pretty girl. You could never tell. And she wasn't supposed to travel longer than 3 days because she was on the methadone. You know what methadone is?
Yeah, that helps you come off the heroin.
Yeah. So once you get on methadone, that stuff's like as bad as the H, dude. You're not going to OD on it, but it's nasty, nasty stuff. That stuff gets in your bones. It gets all in you. It's nasty stuff, and it's almost impossible to come off from. So when people get on that, they're usually on that like a really long time, or it's like a very long, slow withdrawal. And so I found out that she's on this, and she tells me, I'm like, why would you travel here and book a week when you got a 3-day travel supply of methadone? And at that time, I didn't know about how the withdrawal worked and all that. And then so we go back to the hotel the next day, and she's like, I'm so sorry I embarrassed you last night, this and that. I'm like, okay. And then she's kind of telling me about everything, and I'm like, okay, so you're used to use IV stuff, and like, are you okay? Do you have anything? And because I think the day before we partied the day before, I think somewhere else. I'm trying to think about it. And then we hooked up and without protection. And then I find out she's an IV user. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, she's like, no, I compete. I have clean syringes I've always used and everything like that. I'm like, okay. And so we go, and I think she has a manager. So I find out she owns a website that does webcam. You remember how big all the webcam muscle worship fetish stuff was back then? That's how they made their money. So she owned her actually own webcamming company that had other girls working for her, and then she did the webcamming too. So she was making, I mean, like, she told me at the time she's making like 30-40 grand a month easy. I was like, that's great. Yeah. And so
that's before
she had a man. Yeah, before OnlyFans. Yeah. And so she had a manager, this guy, and she was paying for everything and all that stuff like that. And her card wasn't working for something. And I'm like, what's the deal? She's like, my manager, I'm going to call my manager, and on the phone, and this guy basically like canceled all her stuff because he thinks she's trying to like buy drugs, and she traveled to go do drugs with somebody or something like this. And so this girl, man, she started going through her withdrawals because she ran out her methadone. And we were at the hotel. I wake up, and we had 2 separate beds. I said, get 2 separate beds. And I slept in a separate bed. I wake up, and my wallet is on the floor, and everything is out of it.
Oh, man.
And I wake her up, and I'm like, and the coffee beans are everywhere. All the splendas are ripped open and everything. And I wake up, I'm like, what happened? Where's my stuff? She goes, you don't remember the party last night? I said, what party? She goes, remember those guys came over and we had a huge hotel party? I'm like, we didn't have a hotel party. I don't know what you're talking about. There was nobody's been in the room. And apparently she didn't remember. She hid all my stuff around the room. So I was like going around the room. I found like a credit card behind a picture, and then cash under something else. Like, she hid all this stuff, and she like ate all the Splendas, I'm assuming, because all the Splenda packets are empty. And like I'm like, did you eat this coffee a bag ground coffee? And I'm like, it's on your bed, it's on your face. And she has no recollection of what she did. And I'm having a hard time understanding it because I don't understand how serious it is withdrawing from methadone. And I'm like, you got to catch a flight. I called her manager. I was like, I'm going to get her to the airport and she's got to like get a flight and I'm getting her out of there. Like, I can't deal with this girl. So dropped off at the airport. I'm like, thank God, you know. So I get a call from her manager on my phone and it's like, hey, Danielle's in jail. I'm like, where in jail? And she's like, in Dallas. She got arrested at the airport for stealing sunglasses. I'm like, stealing this girl has tons of money, but she wasn't in her right mind. And so I didn't know, like, and then so he was like, can you help her bail her out? I was like, dude, I'm not using my money to bail her. Absolutely not. He goes, I'll send you enough to bail her out. I'm not signing for her. So, you know, whatever you can do, or he did something and she got out. She was at Loose Derrick in Dallas. So, you know, I think I was like 26 or 27 at the time. So I was still dumb, and I loved the excitement and all this kind of drama, whatever. So I picked her up and he's like, we just need to get her back on the plane. So I called my doctor friend. I'm like, go up there to his office. I'm like, hey, can we get her on something that she can be okay, some kind of opiate or anything, so she can get on the plane? He's like, dude, sorry, I can't do that. You know, she's from out of town, and you know, I just can't do it.
Right.
And so I called up actually one of my first the guy that first used to coach me, and I said, bro, like, do you have anybody we can get something from them, get her okay? So he's like, yeah, I mean, meet up with him, and we drive somewhere in Fort Worth to the hood, and this old black lady's got some little baggie. I already know what it is. It's dope. It's heroin. And she's like, this will get you right, honey, so you can get on the plane and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so all her arms, all the veins are blown out from the use of, you know, whatever. And so the lady drew it up and shot her up with it. And then within like 5 minutes, she was like, okay. And then she's like, here, take this with you and do it every, like, you know, a few hours until when you start feeling sick, until you get on the plane and all that. And then she finally was good enough. She got on the plane and got back to Chicago. Send me a message, like, you know, apologizing, you know, kept sending me messages. I just ignored her. I'm like, I'm never talking to this girl again. What do? I cave in, King. I'm stupid enough to cave in to talk to her again. So this is how stupid I was at the time. So then she tells me she has a house in Tampa and she got Super Bowl tickets. And when I please go to the Super Bowl with her that year was in Tampa. I don't even remember who was playing or whatever. So I'm like, oh. I'm like, gosh, the Super Bowl tickets. And she's like, yeah, let me make it up to you. I'm so sorry. And I was talking to her on the phone. She sounds sound of mine. And she's like, I have my travel dose and all that. And I'll buy your ticket. And I'm like, oh, man. And my friends are like, don't do it, man. It sounds like a bad idea. I'm like, man, that sounds like that. And so I do it. And we meet. I think we meet. We met at the airport because she flew in from Chicago. I flew in from there. And she's already not okay. She's already like acting weird. And then she's like, let's go to the grocery store and get a bunch of groceries for the house or whatever. We go to the grocery store, you know, spend how many hours getting the food we need for the week at the grocery store. And we go to check out and her cards aren't working again. And her manager did it again, like, because he managed everything. And she just left without his baby. He wasn't just her manager, he was like her babysitter too. So I found out, and so we go to a house eventually, and it's in that's where all the WWE wrestlers lived in Tampa at the time. I forgot who lived in that neighborhood. I think like a few of the top guys that lived in Tampa were in that neighborhood. We go into this mansion and we go in, there's like nothing in there, and there's like trash bins full of like whatever. And I'm like, and they're all doing drugs and poppers and and smoking whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, where'd you take me? And I asked the dude, I'm like, what's in all these trash cans? And they're filled with pills, dude, like everywhere. This is like huge, like drug dealer's house. And I'm like, why are we here? And she's like, oh, well, we can stay here until we go to I'm like, let's go to your house. she doesn't have a house. She sold it like 2 years prior. And I guess she was expecting us to wing it or whatever. So anyways, her mom lives in Tampa too. So I'm like, take me to your mom's house. And her mom has a talk to me. She's like, listen, she's like, you seem like a really good guy and all that. My daughter's not okay. Like, she's had a lot of issues. She's like, I'm going to buy you a plane ticket. Just go home. And I did. And that was into that. Ignored her for a very long time. And then I get a message one day. I blocked all her stuff. She moved to Texas. She's like, hey, I moved to Dallas, like, or Arlington, whatever at the time. And she wanted me to train her. And she offered me a certain amount of money, and her manager was going to actually pay me the money. I'm like, this is a lot of money. I don't know. It's like, it's hard to turn down because I'm 27. I'm trying to bodybuild, and I think I just hired Hani, and it was a lot of money. And I'm like, okay. So I started doing it for a while, and then it was just too much. She was just, she was doing a lot better, but then I passed her off to my first client. The first coach that I had, and that was pretty much it. And there was a lot of other drama after that, but that was the gist of that story. But that was probably the craziest interaction I've had with a client. And I mean, I look back on it, it was like kind of, it was wild at the time. Because I mean, there's more to the story in between. I remember I even took her to my mom's house to stay the night one night because her card wasn't working. I was like, I'm not using my own money to get a hotel. You're here. And then we're at my mom's house. She's like, could you please turn on the TV? I go, that's a window. That's my window in the room. That's not a TV. So I guess she was withdrawing again. And so, but yeah, that was probably the craziest time.
That's a good one. That's a real good one. Yeah, I got three celebrities that I had encounters with. Those are fun stories. One of them was a very, very, very famous female rapper whose manager contacted me and said that she wants to meet you and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. And I put two and two together. Basically, she wanted one night with a bodybuilder. So I actually had a conversation with her. Very nice girl, just a little loopy. A very, very, I can say it, Jenna Jameson down in Miami. And we met. They had the whole table right next to us, VIP. We had the table, me and my boys down there. And we ended up talking. She's like the coolest chick in the world.
That was Jenna Jameson you're hanging out with?
Yeah. They had the table next to us. We had here, but we ended up talking. She was there with her crew and all that stuff. And then that was a fun night. That was a very fun night. And then one celebrity, I will never say who this person is, but let's just say she's not a movie star. She was a TV star. But she was probably at that time one or two most famous, either first place or second place, one of the most famous female TV stars. And I ended up in a club in Atlanta, of all places, and we just made up. We kissed. We just making out, and afterwards, I remember it was the coolest thing. She kind of she punched me in the chest or something like that. She goes, "You guys men are such assholes," and then she just left.
So that was it. Did you hang out with Jenna Jameson? Did you hook up with Jenna Jameson?
No, we didn't hook up, but
okay.
I mean, she was just mad cool, and we hung out.
Yeah.
And, but with the porn stars, listen, for them, life is like literally like a game, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, they could care less. So the drugs were out of control. Everything is on level 10. There is no 8, 7. No, it's 10. Everything is 10. Drinking 10, partying 10. Everything is a 10. So that was a crazy ass night.
I remember when I, first time I met Alex Argentine, I shot with him in the Valley. I was at, I think, Chatsworth, California. And he's like, hey, man, you're probably going to meet a lot of people in the gym. They may come up to you and do porn and all that. And don't get into that stuff. I was like 23. He was trying to give me that life advice. I'm like, no, I was like, dude, I would never get into porn. And then he goes, stay away from the porn stars too. They'll try to hang out and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm good. I'm not hanging out with any porn. I'm not hanging out with any porn stars. And so, this guy says, was Master Blaster from Libera a nice guy? So everybody knows this guy around Texas and in the male industry, exotic dancing, just because this guy was a stripper until like 76, 75 years old, King. That's how gross is that? But over the years,
Wow.
I worked with him at one of the clubs, and old man, hair everywhere, would wear a cowboy hat, get up on stage, and he had girls, and he would still be making money. At like, I think I worked with him when he was around like, I think in his 50s or early 60s. He looked good for his age, but he's 60 still. He's like body of, he still worked out and looked good, but yeah, he was a super nice guy, and he had a lot of crazy stories. But yeah, he was a nice guy. I don't know what happened to him, but if he's still around or alive or anything. But this person says, I believe some people said they were not shocked that Leo in longevity died because of the way he spoke to people. Armon, what do you think about that statement? We've talked about it before in other podcasts. Leo was insane. We did the podcast together, Boston, Leo, and I, and Blue, and it was a good podcast. But me and Leo, we didn't speak outside that podcast, and he would flip out on everybody. And I remember one day, I think me and Boston were talking, and Leo disappeared for a few weeks, so we did the podcast, and he came back, and he was like, always like, we're doing the podcast today, and then would cancel, and then this. And I said, hey, bro, like, I got a busy schedule. I can't plan a podcast to do with you, and you just keep no showing. And so then he sent me some crazy ass message back, like, well, you and Blue are just lucky I even have you on my podcast. I don't even need you on here to have a podcast. I said, okay, good luck. Take care. And then like, I'm never coming on there again. And I told, Blue what he said too and all that. And Blue was like, well, do you think he meant it? I'm like, I don't care if he meant it or whatever. He said it to me. Like, I'm not going to have some dude disrespect me like that. And then I went about my day and stuff like that. And he kept calling me. At this time, I think he was in like Puerto Rico because he fled the States because I think he had an active warrant out for beating up his wife. And then he threatened to, this is pretty sick, but they had a newborn. And he threatened to, to the newborn, like get rid of it.
That's crazy.
And yeah, and he fled to, I believe, Puerto Rico or something he was at, and so he called me and he left me a bunch of voicemails on WhatsApp. I still probably have them to this day. And it was like, I told this story on RX, but I'll go through it real fast again. So he was like, hey man, I'm really sorry I said that. I haven't been getting much sleep lately. I'm going through a lot. Just would you please talk to me? I didn't mean what I said. I love you on the podcast. I want you on there, this and that. And then I didn't even get the messages yet. I was busy that day. So when I eventually checked my WhatsApp, I had like 5 or 6 voice messages from him. And the first 3 were apologies, like, hey, I'm sorry, this and that. And then the last 3 were just like, you piece of ass, you're this, you're this. I never even liked you. Oh yeah, dude. I never even liked you, and Boston doesn't like you, and none of us even like you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I called Boston and Blue and told about him. They're like, oh my gosh, dude. They're like, yeah, he's been calling us. He's been calling us too, and saying, would you please talk to Armon and tell him I'm sorry? And I'm like, dude, he sent me the worst messages ever. And that was the last contact I had with him. And then after that, he moved out to Thailand, and we all know we don't really know, but when you treat people like that, he would speak that way to anybody, not in person, but over messages. I'm talking about people that would literally destroy him. Like, Leo wasn't a big guy.
What is it with Thailand, man? I know the dollar is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
I know that you can go there and live like a king. With 10 grand, you can live like a king for a week. I get it. But so many people go there and they get really fucked up. Even that internet kid Ziz, who was pretty much, the techno lord of all the douchebags around the world.
Techno lord, yeah. Well, King, it's so they've got decent gyms, food's cheap, and you can walk in any pharmacy and get as much real gear as you want to. And so it's kind of like a bodybuilder's dream if you're trying to bodybuild, and let's be real, bodybuilding is very expensive here, and it's try to obtain good stuff. So there you can get a nice apartment for dirt cheap. Everything's cheap. The people are very nice there. you just want to stay out of all the mess, all the prostitution there, all the weird ladyboy stuff there that you know, what's his name would get into all the time. The doctor, it wasn't really a doctor, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So he was into all that stuff, and he had like 3 different girlfriends. They all lived all this kind of weird, crazy stuff. And they just get like, it's the people that moved out there, they all get into, it's just like it takes their soul away from them. They get into like really sexual deviant stuff because it's like all the prostitution and weird stuff, and women you can get there. So all the girls are basically just working. So you can have like 3 like cute Thai girls, and you know, probably give them a couple $100 a month, and they'll cook, clean, you know, do whatever for you and sleep with you and all that. And so that's why they go out there. And we've seen all the horror stories, people passing away. That one guy, I remember, he got a horrible infection in his leg. He started GoFundMe. I don't know his name. He wasn't a well-known bodybuilder, but he waited so long to go. They had to cut like a huge piece of meat out of his leg from the infection.
Oh, that's awful, man.
And yeah, and apparently there's good and bad gear in the pharmacies. You got to know which ones to go to. And technically, it's still not like the legalities of it is kind of weird, they said, but it's basically legal, but there's still some loopholes. I don't know, but you got to have a prescription. It's kind of like Mexico, but the gear is supposedly good there. And yeah, and a lot of people go out there, and if you're single, I think it would be fun for maybe a couple weeks, because a lot of my friends would go there. I was supposed to go out there with my friends Tony one year, because he would make a trip there every couple of years. He's like, dude, you got to come. It's amazing. I'm like, dude, that's just not I'm not going to go sleep with prostitutes. That's not my thing. I'm not going to go, you know, go party, do all this wreck stuff. That's not something I want to do. And, you know, a lot of the pollution's there, you know, it's real polluted. It's real, you know, gross. I know a lot of other guy named Jonathan, a local bodybuilder here. He moved out there for a while, and he posted a video. He busted his head up real bad riding one of those, you know, because you ride those little moped or scooter with things around everywhere there. So yeah, that's why they go there. I don't see.
Yeah, I can understand if people wanted to go vacation. I mean, I'm sure Thailand has like 5-star resorts and stuff that's all inclusive and blah 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 blah. But I to me, it still sounds a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I think if you're young and you want to have fun and go out there and party, maybe for like you know, a couple weeks or something. But to live out there, no way, absolutely not. And everybody that does, it doesn't really have a good ending. And, you know, Leo got murdered. And people thought, you know, Tony did it for a while because Tony was his roommate. And then Tony made all these really weird videos, like made him look guilty. And who knows, probably did Tony know who did it? I don't know. But Leo is apparently, you know, he didn't like that Tony was all into the training stuff. He would talk down to Tony all the time, and Tony's literally paying for everything. He flew him out there. He's paying for his house that they live in and all together. And he would literally like talk down to Tony, like, you know, and Tony was like, you know, didn't want that confrontation, was probably scared of him just because the guy would just flip on people for no reason. And one night there was a bad incident that he was doing some stuff with a girl, and I don't know if it was the violence was while they were having sex, if he was into some like sadistic stuff like that, or it was afterwards. But she ran to Tony's room, was like banging on the door, crying, and like injured and had some injuries. And eventually Tony I think they paid her off a bunch of money just to not call the police over there. And then the guy that owns all like the bars where the girls are at and stuff is basically, I think what I heard, and I think it's pretty true, owned like the newspapers and stuff too. Basically, he was beating up on all the girls he was seeing. And so the guy probably just sent somebody to do a hit on him.
That's not good.
Yeah. So a lot of people thought he fell in the bathroom and this and that, or he did it to himself. No, that's not what happened. He pissed off way too many people. And you're in another country abusing people, especially girls. I mean, he just got what was coming to him, the way he lived his life and spoke to people and acted. You can't go around treating. The way he treated people was insane. I mean, everybody I was nothing but nice to the guy always, and then he flipped out on me like that. Just to picture if you weren't nice to the guy, what he would do.
Right.
But
yeah.
do you think a lot of bodybuilders are gay or for porn sex, or is that just folklore? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys got into some weird stuff. I mean, the whole muscle. I got a weird email this morning. Actually, it was really weird. This guy's talking about he's doing his thesis, and he's a life coach, and the whole term muscle worship is nothing was originally nothing ever sexual. It was actually the term was basically a bodybuilder that you want to see succeed. You send them money, and then you kind of take care of them as they progress in their career. And that's what it was. I mean, like I said, I had people sending me money I didn't even know, like fans. It's like, hey, I had this one guy in Italy. He would send me like $500 to $1,000 every month in a book come from Italy because he couldn't wire the money, something with the taxes or something like that. But I had a lot of people like that, but a lot of people got into the gay porn side of it and all the solo jack off videos and stuff like that. So yeah, officially best podcast. Appreciate it. Spread the word. Spread the word, guys. Are your crazy women stories self-inflicted? Do you think Armon? I don't know, maybe. I entertained the crazy women. When I saw red flags, I should have been like, I'm out, and I didn't because I was always into like thrills and crazy times. And so when I saw the red flags, I didn't leave. That was the problem. So I heard that most Persians that moved to Southern California after the revolution 1970s were rich. They were the people that run the country of Iran and got forced out. Is that correct?
Could be. Yeah, because right now, there's a huge part of LA that's pretty much Persian. I mean, probably like 70% of Beverly Hills is Persian. So it could be true. Absolutely. There was the two migrations to the United States. There was the West Coast, and then there was the East Coast, which was the DMV area, which is the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, or to Los Angeles. Those are the two hubs for the Persians.
Cool. All right. Does it bother you when people talk to you at the gym when you're trying to work out? No. King?
I train angry, and everybody knows that I am doing my thing. I don't listen to music. I got to hear the clanking and stuff like that. I don't look at my phone in between. I'm in there. I do my business and I leave. And if somebody comes up and says something to me, I always answer them very nice, professional manner.
Yeah. So when I was younger and training at Golds and all that, like, I think I had an ego issue when I was younger, and I think a lot of people that came up to me, I wasn't the nicest to, and I didn't realize that. I was just, like King said, I was so into my training and so focused. My friends would be like, man, you weren't really too nice to that person. I was like, I didn't mean to be. I was just so focused on my workout. As I got older, I don't really call it training for me anymore. I just call it exercising because I don't go in there and I can't move a lot of weight. I got too many injuries. So I get like little pump workouts done. So if people come up to me, a lot of people come up to me from TikTok, which is crazy. And they're like, hey, so TikTok, follow you on TikTok. I'm like, that's cool. And some people that will follow you around the whole workout. And I eventually have to tell them, hey man, I'm in a hurry. I got to pick up my kid from kids club. And like, if I'm at the Lifetime I'm Alice, my kids club ends at like 7 or 8, and I got to pick my kid up. So I got to hurry up. But besides that, I don't mind if people, talk for a second. I traveled a lot in Thailand. A lot of the losers from the U.S. moved there. They kind of people you don't like in the United States. A lot of people do that. A lot of people that make enemies with a lot of people here, they'll just move off to other countries. I know a lot of people like that. They run away. A lot of people run away from their problems. They think it's going to be better somewhere else.
Yeah, and that never works.
No, problems just at another place. King, can you give us a tip with the women you made out with that was on the TV show? What TV show was she on?
How can I say this? Let's just say She was America's sweetheart.
There's a lot of those. So
that time, she was America's sweetheart. Like every girl wanted to be her.
Brown, blonde, brunette.
In the middle.
Oh, okay.
Blonde, yeah, brunette and blonde. Yeah.
You like brunettes or you like blondes, King?
I like not crazy. That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's my answer. Okay.
That's hard to find
they're
these
not
days.
freaking crazy. Crazy is something that I just can't handle. I used to love, just like your stories. You used to be able to deal with crazy.
Yeah.
And it was actually fun for a while to have crazy.
Yeah.
But I can't deal with crazy anymore. It's just too much. And as soon as I feel it coming on, adios.
It's fun until you get in some real trouble. Like the girls I hung out with, when they started like calling the police and trying to make up stories because like I didn't want to hang out with them anymore or broke up with them. That's when you realize, hey, there's repercussions, because as men, we can go hook up with girls and keep our feelings like totally out of it. Women, they get attached easily. So you got to remember, like, it might just be some fling to you.
You know what's the best way to sum it up, Armon?
Yeah.
The woman's, and I'm talking in general, a woman's superpower is in between her legs.
Yep.
A man's superpower is the ability to walk away.
Yeah. I always tell people, like,
I just want everyone to remember that and tattoo that in their brains. Okay. Yeah. That's the difference. And that's how that is one of the most factual things I could possibly say because of my own personal experience.
Absolutely.
They have their power down there. Our power is the ability to just walk away. That's it.
And I always tell people too that the thing, it was never hard to get girls. It was hard to get rid of certain girls that, because, they would come up with sad stories and guilt trip you into not breaking up. And, as men, I fell for it sometimes. I'm like, I feel bad for the girl. She's this. And then you keep seeing them, and it's just a trick that they're trying to make you do. And as I got older, like my friends that they have certain relationships and the girls trying to like trick them into it, like, or say stuff like, oh, I'm just about to take my life because you won't talk. I'm like, dude, they're just trying to get you to come over. I promise you she's not going to take her life. Just stay away from the girl. And it's just,
Here's a little trick.
Yeah.
Ask any new girl you're starting to see what happened with her last relationship.
Yep.
Get into it. And make sure that it's in a nice, breezy type of conversation. Nothing serious. See what they say. You'll learn a lot from what happened with the last relationship. Okay. And then you'll see the red flags come up. If you're experienced enough and you're smart enough to know what to look for, you see those red flags and you go, that like that Persian girl I was dating for a while. Yeah. Every story was, I'm great. He was crazy. I'm great. Mm-hmm. He was crazy. He did this. I couldn't do this. And then at the end, what ended up happening is I learned the hard way that she drove him to be crazy. I felt bad for that fucking guy, Like, I know now all the stories that this girl has told me, she did that to him. She made him wanting to off himself. She made him want to go crazy and jump off a bridge. She did that to him. So find out what happened with her ex, and then what you're about to experience.
Yeah. And if they're saying it's always the guy's fault, it's not always the guy. Yeah, if a girl says, we just didn't work out, we weren't for each other, that's probably a girl that's
the best answer they could give. Yeah. If
I can't hear you, King.
Yeah.
Okay, you broke up for a second.
Yeah, I said if they say that everything is the other person's fault, that's just a narcissist. Run for the hills.
Yeah, and you got to remember, girls try to start drama between guys a lot. They like to be chased after. I remember this one guy sent me a message one day. This girl I broke up with like months prior, and he's like, "Man, why don't you just leave me alone? Why don't you just stay in your lane? What do you keep?" I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You keep messaging. Why do you keep sending me all these threatening messages?" I'm like, I'm not sending you any messages. Send me the messages. And it was from some fake profile. And I'm like, that's not me. I said, that's not me, dude. I was like, I go, what did this girl tell you about me? He goes, well, she said that, she broke your heart. You won't leave her alone. I go, no, she's crazy. I'm like, I broke up with her months ago. She's batshit crazy. Like, she was one of my side girls. And then I'm like, no, you need to get away from her. And then he didn't listen to me. He calls me about a month later and she broke a beer bottle over his head and she got arrested. They got into an argument. And I said, yeah, man, that girl, that's not me messaging. You think I'm going to send another man those messages? Like, that's a fake. All you had to do was go to the profile and look through the stuff. That there's no content. It's a fake profile.
Yeah.
A few more questions and wrap it up. King and Armon, how much protein do you guys eat a day? I'm in my 40s, and is 150 grams a day enough, mostly from food? I'll answer first because I know King eats more than me. I eat about 3 meals a day, kind of whatever I want. So I don't eat 1 gram of protein per pound like I used to when I was bodybuilding. But King, I know, eats
1 gram of protein per body part. That's stick with the normal Chat GPT answer on that one.
Yeah, that's a standard.
Yeah,
and you can even go a little up. True King, the famous Richard Pryor, said women have half the money and all the poo. Oh well. Dating gym girls versus girls who don't train. I like a girl who trains but is not a competitor.
Yeah, listen, I'm the same way. It's hard for me to say this. I like the fact that a girl works out and takes care of herself. But a lot of these girls unfortunately, that are into bodybuilding and all that stuff. Even if they're in bikini and what have you, they have problems.
Yeah,
they have self-esteem issues.
Yeah, a lot of the girls that do that, they need a lot of attention seeking, and a lot of people get into bodybuilding or competing for different reasons. We did it because we love bodybuilding. We loved the whole thing. There wasn't like a social media thing. Now people do shows and compete for the wrong reason. They get a lot of attention. Some girls, you prep and they never got attention before. You change their bodies, and the next thing they divorce their husband. They start, acting like they're like, what happened to you? You used to be this humble, sweet girl. Now you're acting like that. So.
I say it all the time. I say it to them all the time when they get into little spats here and there and fights. I tell them all the time. I said, look, the grass is not greener on the other side. Unless he's beating the shit out of you and doing things that are, off the charts wrong. You're not going to find somebody else that's better. Trust me. The next guy will have his own problems.
Absolutely. And a funny show, guys. Great chatting. On that note, King, have an amazing day.
You too, brother.
Peace out, guys. Next week, we got Bill Wilmore on. And then the following week, I get to finally take a family vacation on a cruise. So we'll be out that week, but the following week, we'll be back. See you guys later. Peace out. Later, King.
Bye-bye.
Bye.